of authenticity. Embrace your true self. I can't tell you how many times I practice that word. So let me really quickly say hi to my inner circles, UCIC next to them on the chat. Also my super chatters and just the people that are jumping on here. So hi, Craig. Hi, Sarah, Mary, Arthur, Jerome, Jody, Matthew, my son, Mike, Kai, hola, Sandy, Melody, Craig, one of the other visionaries. I really appreciate you. And our just like that, our time's already up. So let's get started. Hi, John Tier. I seen on there Eric, Peter, James. Hello, my name is Robert Hollis. I hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day. And today's topic is the power of authenticity. Embrace your true self. Now, one of the things I want to tell you guys is just, man, in this day and age, you got to change with the times. And authenticity is just, you don't have to worry about people finding out what you truly are and the way you think and how many times you failed and how much life is a struggle. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Are people finding out about that stuff if you're willing to share that? See, there's some kind of programming in our mind that, because we're so fearful and we don't want to be embarrassed and we don't want to be rejected and we don't want to be humiliated and have people laugh at us. And we definitely have a lot of years and a lot of hours in schooling of constantly what I would call walking on eggs. You know what I mean? So, one of the subjects that they said you should never, ever talk about at a family reunion or a class reunion is politics, religion, and money. Now, I don't know where that programming got in there, but it's in there, man. So you just don't want to talk about these things. You know what I mean? And what if people really knew that I failed in the past? What if people really knew that, I got taken away from my mother and father? What if they really knew, that, and this was stuff that I had to deal with in live time. You show up at a new school and everyone in that school is Native American and you're white. And it's like, I didn't have to tell people that I was taken away from my mom and dad. I didn't have to tell people that I hung around with the wrong crowd and stole a beer truck for a senior and birthday party and had to spend some time in federal prison. See, I don't have to tell people that because it was on the front page of the paper. But, it's really, really interesting that a lot of people are constantly, thinking about what other people are going to think about them. So if you notice things that are really working right now, and I believe more than ever, is the people that are the most authentic, the people that are willing to fall in love with themselves. And when you do that and learn how to do that, Matt is doing such an amazing job. And Craig, I don't want to leave him out. I'm building our YouTube channel and it's growing like crazy. Now, all of a sudden, we get more exposure, we get more views, we get bigger. And here comes the trolls. You know what I mean? And it's like when you first see it, you sort of go like, ah. And then I teach people, hey, you gotta stop worrying about this, because if your goal is to impact a lot of people, you're going to attract a lot of people that you're the epitome of what they wish they could be. So the more authentic you are, I highly suggest that you watch these documentaries. I brought them up before, but it's not only the documentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and maybe even I was thinking, find the company that's doing these documentaries and find out what other documentaries there are. Maybe you're not into action heroes. but the other one is Sylvester Stallone. And when you hear their thought process and how they grew up, and their parents weren't very good to them, and they got all this trauma, and they got all this stuff that their parents did to them, and you go, how did they make it? How did they get so freaking focused and do it anyway? And so what was really unique about Rocky's story, Sylvester Stallone's, is that he just was willing, to, never ever quit, continue to focus on his goals, and just go out there and not let anybody ever talk him out of it. He was going, when I was talking with my brother, it's like, the thought of, hey, what if this doesn't work, was never a thought. It's like, listen, other people did it. If other people did it, we can do it. And so when he said that he wrote, the story of Rocky, and if you guys haven't seen it, that would be amazing. Melody, I love you. I love you. I love you. The orphans are going to love it. But one of the things I wanted to share with you guys is when, Rocky was talking about, that the story kept evolving. And, at first, he was like a mobster, like a gangster. Rocky was. And then how it, turned into a love story, and how, Rocky Balboa all of a sudden became like a misfit, and he had all these problems, and he had all these self-confidence issues, and he had all these lack of beliefs in himself and what other people would think. And you watch him go through every one of these. So the Rocky story is just so powerful because it's about an average person that in their mind is always going to be average. There's always going to be a lack of self-esteem, don't feel worthy, don't feel like they're enough, don't feel any of this. And so what makes that story so powerful, and stories like it so powerful, is that we get attached to the authenticity and the vulnerability of the character. See, so you always hear this phrase, don't you? Is that everyone roots for the underdog. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. The smallest football player. And so when you think about some of these stories, it's always the person, you know what I mean? That we most recognize with what we most identify with. And so it's the person that, doesn't feel comfortable in talking to another person. It's a person that constantly gets, like, one of the things in watching that documentary that I never, ever, ever thought of is how Rocky, being a misfit and having all these bad thoughts about himself, is it talked about the story of sort of getting his wife, Adrian, how he pulled her out of her shell. That, all the women in the world that identify with, I think I'm ugly, and no one cares, and no one loves me. And the Rocky story, to me, I never thought of that about that. But that's because I'm probably a male. And so the way that Rocky kept encouraging her and kept telling her that, that she was amazing and she was beautiful, and he kept, pouring into her and see what she turned into, as you go through the Rocky series. And so it's like all of us need this encouraging word from somebody, right? And I always look for that in every story. There's always this person that, in the midst of the person being authentic and vulnerable, like when I met my mentor, and I just said, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't have electricity because I can't afford it. I'm hiding my car from the repo man because I'm behind 3 payments to a pawn shop on a used car. That just sounds pathetic and awful when I say it. That I had this, piece of paper on my door um, that said, pay or quit by the end of the month. I was $3,800 behind on everything. Credit cards maxed out, no families to borrow from, and it's like we love these stories, and seeing people don't want to talk about them. In fact, when they talk to their story about other people, they want to go from highlight to highlight to highlight to highlight, right? And so when I used to share with people how to teach their story, I'll never forget there was this one guy named Ruben. And he said, I was in real estate, had my own mortgage company and had my own construction company and my own development company. And I sold all these homes. And then all of a sudden, the real estate, market turns and he lost it all. And I had that happen to a number of my friends. They thought real estate was going to be the deal. And all of a sudden, I said to him, I said, what did you do what was your first job? And he said, I worked at a warehouse. And I said, doing what? All day, every day. Trucks would come in. We'd have to unload the trucks. And then we'd have to go through the warehouse and put the stuff where it's supposed to be. And I said, how long did you do that? He goes, 3 years. I go, that's the story you tell. Because standing up in front of a group of people and saying, hey, I made all this money in real estate, and people go, I can't identify with you. It would be like me, and this is going to sound like I'm bragging, but what if I started my story saying, hey, listen, prior to this industry, I was a master automotive technician. In fact, I was in the top, 0.01% of all the mechanics in the world. And I graduated top of my class, from the North Dakota State College of Science. I had 73 job offers when I left there. Worked for the number one person, billionaire Roger Penske, and worked myself up the ranks with Roger Penske. I moved from North Dakota, Montana to California to pursue my career. Me and my best friend built a pro stock drag car. And, our goal was one day to not only qualify in the top rounds, but actually get paid to be a professional racer. And, from there, what I did is I stepped away from owning a car and started putting deals together where one of our cars actually won the Michigan 500. And I'm standing in the Borg-Warner trophies and my pager's going off because I'm on ABC Wild World of Sports. And all this stuff was happening to me. And then I got hurt and I found this business. People are going, it sort of sounds to me like everything that you did and pursued, you were above average. Yeah. So then you stepped in this and became above average. Because I learned habits and stuff when I was young from very successful mentors. And I did those. In fact, I believe that's what we're talking about today on the podcast. And so, just think about that. Think about the more that you're humble, because honestly, when people walk up to me and say, well, what'd you do before network marketing? I worked on cars. I that's what I did. I worked on cars. How could you make it more authentic? How could you make it more vulnerable? Yeah, and to show you how smart I was, we were working on a Toyota van, and you sat in front, and it was front wheel drive, so it was way too heavy in the front. So we took tires off of it, and the van started tipping. And my first response was to stop it from tipping because I didn't want the van to fall off the hoist. So of course I lost, and it pinned my back against my toolbox, and it hyperextended and just tore up my knee. And I had to go to the emergency room. See, it's like, isn't that a different story? But here's what's unique about people. we have a tendency of trying to make our story actually sound better than it is, to try to impress people that are more impressed with authenticity and vulnerability instead of you hitting highlights of your career. And you'll notice that people do this all the time. They'll say, "Well, tell me a little bit about you. Let me tell you a little, tell me a little bit about yourself." And they go from highlight to highlight to highlight to highlight. And I never thought about this just till now, but isn't that sort of social media? Let me just go from highlight to highlight, highlight. I'll take pictures of myself when I'm happy. I'll take pictures of myself when I'm doing fun things. I'll take pictures of my food when I'm eating at a really fancy restaurant. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe the most authentic people and vulnerable people on social media is uh people that, hey, here I am eating at Taco Bell. Or Taco John's. It's like, I don't know. I don't know because I don't do that stuff. But I just want you to understand that the more that you talk about your failures, the more you talk about your struggles, the more you talk about, you know, uh, I blew today off because I wasn't in the right mindset. And for whatever reason, I got up this morning and I didn't feel like doing my morning routine. So I didn't do it, and then I sort of, I don't know. I don't know. I just, a couple days turned into a week. Now I think it's been like 8 years. No, I'm now I've lived my whole life like this. That's why I'll share. A lot of times I tell people, how do you repair relationships if you pitch them on the business, and then you were sort of like a bad person, and you sort of ruin that relationship. You know what I mean? You burned your bridges. And I was telling, nothing is more authentic and vulnerable than saying you're sorry and meaning it. So if you reached out to anybody that you ever connected ever and just said, "Hey, listen, I thought of you today, and so instead of thinking of you, I thought I'd leave you a message. And I just need you to know that if I did anything wrong in any way, shape, or form to you, I get into companies, I get super excited. I want things to happen so fast. And what I do is I connect people probably in the wrong way of saying way, way, way too much with too much excitement. And, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. See, because that's where people always talk about, the road less traveled, going the extra mile. Successful people do what unsuccessful people don't. It's like, man, man, it's just amazing to me. So I hope this video helped you. I love and appreciate you. If you could do me a huge personal favor, I'd really, really appreciate it. Share this video with people that that you know someone was asking me what documentation beats conversation means. And I said, well, documentation, he says, I've heard the phrase, I just don't understand it. And he said, what documentation beats conversation means, it's faster to share with people what is possible, and stop talking about all the hype. In the Jerry Maguire movie, Jerry Maguire was telling this football player, all the stuff he was going to do for him, all the stuff he was going to do for him, all the stuff that he was going to do for him. Like a lot of people that try to pitch products and opportunities, it's there's no product better than this. There's no company better than this. We're going to be $1 trillion company, and it's just hype, 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 hype. Um, then all of a sudden you see where it goes to the mantra. He says, we got a mantra in our family. It's very special to us. Show me the money. See, it's like, stop talking about all this hype and hype and hype and what you're going to do, and prove to me that you're the leader that I should be recruited by or sponsored by. Some of you know the difference because you've seen the other videos. But when people reach out to me, I'm going, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but if I were going to get into that company, why? Why would I allow you to be my sponsor? Wow. And no one ever really thinks about, no, the products are the best. The comp plan's the best. Ah, it's nuts to me. It's like, we're one of the most successful, fastest growing companies in the world. Uh, can you send me a link where I can research that? Are you just saying what Jim, Joe, Bob told you? You know what I mean? So anyway, I love and appreciate you. I believe in you. I know you can do this. If I did it, you can do it. And if no one's ever given you permission to be happy and successful, let me be the first, because I believe in you. See you on the next video. See you on the podcast today. I know Craig posted it. And again, thank you very much. God bless. And again, thank you to the super chatters, Bill, Melody. I don't remember if there was somebody else, but thank you guys so much. I love and appreciate you. Bye for now.